Because you are such a sexy beast.
I could do worse, I'll tell you that. Damn. All right.
Actually, Tom Cruise.
Hi, Tom.
Played by Kevin Spacey.
No, Ben Kingsley. Come on.
Dude, Kevin Spacey.
I know, but
Kevin Kline.
I still feel like that's a downgrade. Ben Kingsley. I'll take Ben Kingsley. So, thank you guys for coming out. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
No. Charlie. Where's the love, Charlie? Will Ferrell?
Matt Barton will be played by Will Ferrell.
Okay. Hey, he did fine in Stranger Than Fiction. He did better than fine in Stranger Than Fiction. So.
Yeah, he needs to do more of that.
Yeah, he does.
Actually, he needs to make fewer movies.
Like none, unless it's Stranger Than Fiction.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. So that would do just fine. So the first piece I'm going to do is called Poetic Marrow. This was actually I wrote this, I think, and I showed it to Buddha, and he said, "Hey, that's, you know, we talked a little bit about it." And he said, "You should write a Renaissance man piece." I thought, well, shit, I thought I had. Poetic Marrow. Dissolved muscle, tenderized, braised. The meat of him falls off the bone. A jack, he traded boil for simmer for this. Finds himself filled, unnourished. Takes up all the air in the room, wastes it. Cannot find grateful, has lost grace. Purchased fool's gold, broke his teeth proving its sincerity. Every project imperfect, custom he calls it. Laughs, breaks, pretends to shake the dust off. He is afraid of avocados, stacked neatly in piles, knows he will die asleep, face down among them. He keeps his change in a jar. It makes him nervous. It will reach critical mass, accelerate. Is it exchanged for money before it gets out of control? Hasn't skipped a stone in years. Worries he cannot stop. 13 pages scream silently from bookcases. He cannot focus. A match surrounded by laser beams. He dissipates. Knows he has bought these yard sale trilobites. Feels their antiquity as meaningless. Has rubbed them smooth, rhythmically stroking his thumb across the stamp of a banal prehistoric cockroach. Nonetheless, it has created this impression. Has not been crushed into fuel. Worthless, silent, he loves them. So I wanted to read that piece first because I wrote a piece that sort of responds to it. I like to cook, so you'll find a lot of cooking metaphors in some of my poems. This one is called Faint Praise. The sear is first. Whip, crack, pop, and snap. Moisture sublimated. Passing go, it's released. Expansive, tiny droplets singe the air. Purged muscles shrink. Elastic bands tighten, compress. Fugitive droplets run, are obliterated. The exterior seizes, begins to char, clings to its tormentor. Victorious smoke curls, leering skyward. Another hiss, greater this time, Armageddon loud. Tiny handholds swept away in an instant, released in violent, ecstatic inevitability. Silence. Temperatures climb. Particles again become excited, begin to jostle, frantically expand. Bubbles form. Tiny, slow, thick, bursting indolently. The first down are the walls. Swelling, the heat sabotages them. Crumbling, their hostages stream through, threaten a show of force. Contained. The connective tissues are next. Thickening, spreading, defeated, spilling and sliding. Their defeat coats, separates, loses shape, defines. Finally, the fat begins to render. Waxy globules liquefying, reluctant, oozing, now powerful, reactant, pervasive. Moments of rest before speared. Fat lips reach out, open, grasp clumsily, pulled, then crushed, masticated. They will praise the mouthfeel, so tender, such a lovely fawn, well developed. You were raised for this. Low, slow, the meat will fall off the bone. Credulity is not a virtue. It's fortune cookie cutters, mommy issue, hypno-Babylon bullshit. Couched in scientician, double bubble, toil and trouble in River City, pseudo-quasi, alternative, acupunctuating, pressurized, stereogram, pyramidal, free energy, healing, water, downward spiral, brain deadpan, sales pitch, late night info docutainment. Leo, Pisces, cancer cures, detox, reflex, foot massage, death and towers, tarot cards, psychic healing, crystal balls, Bigfoot, Yeti, aliens, churches, mosques, and witches, wizards, vaccine nuts, synagogues, temples, dragons, giant worms, Atlantis, dolphins, truthers, birth. Woo! So I'm gonna pour this out every time I get a chance. There is a program you should listen to. It's called Radio Lab. I've said it every time I have a feature. I'll say it every time I have a feature. It's out of New York Public Radio, WNYC. You can listen to it at radiolab.org. It's the most amazing thing I've heard on radio. If you're not listening to it, you're wasting your time. They explore issues. They'll have an episode on choice, or mortality, or morality, and it explores the intersection between science and culture and philosophy. And if you're not interested in those things, I can't imagine why you would be here. So I write in response to that, not infrequently. This is a response to their choice episode. This overwhelming crush of choice, a condition of our modernity, helplessly polite, all things considered, reconsidered. Paralytic motion, squalling in Newton's cradle, energetic ripples lap the corners of minds, emptied only to warehouse. We have ceased to be industrial in favor of becoming industrious. Measured output through quality-controlled, tiny coat pocket flags, reassuring us we have been inspected, certified, made certifiable, become ensnared in possibilities that all smell of lilies, destroyed by this tension of expectation. Pubescent stirrings remind us that chaos is temporary. Bookstores and libraries, stiff spines, backs turned, cataloged mausoleums. Each shelf holds a man I will not become. I am haunted by the Renaissance man. He has time. Unemployable, he and his dead cat laugh, hide under bridges, warm their hands over barrel fires, speak softly. Their language prismatic, white noise containing all sounds, bound by none of them. I chose specifically to become a generalist, lead a private's life, rally troops, die in the mud, buried in my uniform, naked.